I'm Dr. Sharani Senanayake, Head of Priority Health for Lanka Hospitals, and honored actually to be moderating this webinar with 5 beautiful women in leadership roles in the country, sharing their thoughts on women, different aspects of women, and which our viewers obviously can learn from. With us today, we have Ms. Anoja De Silva, board member, Women's Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and a partner of Ernst & Young. Dr. Sulochana Segura, founder, chairperson, Women in Management. Dr. Samanthi Premaratna, consultant gynecological cancer surgeon from Lanka Hospitals. Ms. Senela Jayasuriya, founder, CEO, Women Empowered Global. Senela was awarded Exceptional Women of Excellence by Women Economic Forum and a recipient of Women Icons Asia Award. Ms. Mariam Marikar, President Zonta Club 3 of Colombo, partner Deloitte, Sri Lanka. Welcome everybody. So first of all, I would like to actually thank all the ladies who are joining us here today, taking some time off your busy schedules to be with us. So thank you, everybody. The Women's Chamber of Industry and Commerce Sri Lanka, WCIC, set up in 1995, is a non-profit organization of women in entrepreneurship, professions, and management focused on developing, improving, and strengthening the skills of women entrepreneurs and businesswomen. COVID-19 influenced women in corporates, both positively and negatively, depending on their circumstances. Positive side for being some of the women, it was time to catch up with our families, which they couldn't do before due to the work hours and work shifts. The new work style via online, maybe also from week work and week off work, kind of helped us to maybe some of us to have attend to our families better. On the other hand, it also disproportionately affected some other women, where the increased workload at home led to consideration other options than a full-time employment. Many women with increasing workload, longer hours of chores at home, are showing a tendency in giving up fixed careers and looking at becoming entrepreneurs worldwide. This will affect the number of women in senior management positions when it is already fewer than a quarter of women in their senior roles globally. Anuji, I'm turning to you now. What are the pros and cons of a lady working in a corporate sector in Sri Lanka after COVID-19 hit the world?
Good morning, ladies, and Dr. Charani, thank you very much for that introduction, and also to Lanka Hospitals for giving the Women's Chamber this opportunity. I'm going to actually talk about this in line of some of the challenges we have, and as women, what we need to focus on to overcome these challenges and also to turn them into opportunities. Because I think at the moment we have only 32% of our women who are considered economically active, whereas we make 52% of the population. So like you said, Dr. Charani, I don't think we have the luxury of so many women opting out of work, and we need to find a way to keep working and also to be economically active. So if you look at the post-COVID era, there are a couple of changes that are going to happen as to the way we work. First is, I think, changes to our working environment, because I believe the hybrid model is going to stay. Earlier, I guess we all, when we were working women, we all had this impression that we get up in the morning and go to work, do the working hours and come back home. So that's going to change. And what we are seeing in Sri Lanka and also around the world is there are 4 models that are evolving. One is where certain places, and also certain employees sometimes will be business as usual, where they go to work the regular way and they will have to show up to work. I guess all of you are part of that. You have no option but to continue to go to work. Then we also have certain companies, even in Sri Lanka, that are opting now for full-time working from home with only limited interactions where employees come on and off for meetings. Then we also have the part-time working from home where where we do the roster system, where some are working from home while others are working in the office. And there's another new trend that is coming where I think, which is also, I've seen it happening a bit in Sri Lanka, where companies are renting out different offices in different locations and asking the employees to go from those locations and connect virtually with the working environment. So you have little groups only working together, not the entire office. So that's the changes in the working environment. And also we see significant changes in our home environment because we have like we all women have a caring for home culture. We are the primary caretakers of our homes. Uh, just like working from home, we all say WFH. We also now have SFH, where schooling from home, where you see most of our children are now at home doing their school from home. And earlier, when we ran our homes, we got aid people to come and help us. It was just a matter of meeting them, talking to them, and agreeing on the terms. Now you have a huge health and safety concern. So you now need to find out where they are coming from, which environment they are in, whether you can get them to come to work uh, correctly. So all these, if you see, are going to bring about very, very different challenges. So as women, we need to now have precision planning if you want to keep working, as to depending on your work culture, what kind of challenges your work culture has and what kind of challenges you're going to have to manage your house affairs. So as I think Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri put this down beautifully at a session, he said we need to figure out focus time, flexi time, and free time. So focus time is time where we need to separate, where we focus on our work. Flexi time is where we probably do part needs basis, where we either attend to our home needs or our work needs. And free time is very guarded free time, where we uh, spend it on our family and our own personal needs. So that I thought was a very, very good thing. And I guess if you are a corporate woman, that is something you have to do if you are to survive in the post-COVID era. Then also we see changes to work cultures, which is brought about the significant use of technology. So there's pros and cons to it. The pros are your meetings are much more short, very cut and dry. You don't waste time with chit chat. You don't do side meetings, and it's very focused. But it also brought about the negative impact where you no longer have mentoring, physical mentoring from somebody. You also don't have the ability to network the way we used to. That's another thing that women need to focus on if you are to succeed, because your work is not now going to be your primary identity. So your work has to be very precise, very very you have to attend diligently to whatever tasks that you're given, because if you don't do that, you're going to fall back in your career progression. But at the same time, with the meetings, now you have more direct face time with your bosses, which you may not have had earlier, because now with the virtual meetings, I mean, everyone is invited. So long as you take the opportunity, so you need to grab those opportunities also. You need to make your presence felt. You need to take the opportunity to also your bosses know how good your work is, because now it's one-to-one. The hierarchy is now broken. a lot with this new working environment. So those are some of the things that I would like to say, in my opinion, that has been brought about in this new post-COVID era.
Women in Management works to empower Sri Lankan career women and women entrepreneurs by connecting and bonding them, by providing leadership and guidance in nurturing their knowledge and skills, inspiring them to achieve their goals, and to act as conduits to the transformation of the role of women in career and business into a dynamic force. So I'd like to ask a question actually in a short while, Dr. Lochana. So what are the key initiatives women in management do to support women in Sri Lanka?
Okay, thank you for the introduction and thank you for the invitation. So, if you ask me what main initiatives, I have thousand to say, but I'll tell few things because one thing WIM doesn't want to do is we do not want to repeat what already been done. So that's why we ensured that when I actually founded WIM, I wanted to ensure that we bring a platform where we connect all three sectors. When you say connect, from the top management to the middle management to the upcoming women in careers and also the business and entrepreneurs, because you cannot put a woman on a senior position and say she's successful unless the middle management also get an opportunity to meet that successful lady. So what WIM did was WIM actually connected all these together. So what are the initiatives we took from? So when 2009, when I put this in Sri Lanka, I realized that there are so many talented women in Sri Lanka. But Sri Lankan brand is known for plantation, for tea, or garments. So I wanted to change it because we happily and proudly says that we are the highest literacies. We have so many women in our universities, and our women are the best. But the women are not getting branded internationally. To get that brand, not that I'm saying that we should not recognize the women in the blue collar informal sector, while because Sri Lanka runs by the informal sector, while ensuring that we are taking up the informal sector to ensure that we have that women also, it's a balance of both women that Sri Lanka runs. So that's what actually the women in management focus was, to brand the hidden brands of Sri Lanka, right? So in that 2011, I introduced the Professional and Career Women Awards with 5 awards, which has come to 50 awards to recognize Sri Lankan women, not only as just a Sri Lankan women, for global also to know them who they are. Meanwhile, for Sri Lankan young generation, and also to make an impact, first you have to give something to the country. So when the country knows we have these kind of women, I think country will be taking. Otherwise, we are proudly saying that we have 52.8% of women. But if we are not using the half of our Sri Lankan talent, Sri Lanka is not going to go forward. So that was the main objective. The initiative was after the top 50 awards, single mother project, because we have so much of single mothers. We call them women headed households according to the term of the ministry. I was told twice, don't use single mothers, because single mothers, we should call them women headed households. Then I was asking why you call them women headed households, whether it's a man or a woman. If she is earning, she is a woman. So it's like, when you get these Grama Sevaka form, if you have to ensure you put your husband's name first, and if not, it's not respected. Because I am a single mom, I have gone through every time Grama Sevakas, why are you putting your name? So I said, I'm the one who's earning, so that's why I'm putting it. So that's how single mother project was put out, for women to speak out, for our women to come, and if they want someone to listen, we are there. So there are a lot of Sri Lankan people think we have a lot of sympathy, but less empathy. So WIM Single Mother Project was to give empathy, not just sympathy. You can be from any walks of life. There are so many of professionals. There are a lot of CEOs. Then there can be grassroots. But there is one unit that you don't judge from their title. You can have a friend. So that's what the Single Mother Project did. Then Top 50 Single Mother Project, then entrepreneurship programs, which was actually localized according to the local entrepreneurs, not just an entrepreneurship. Because when I left my corporate career, all these were done with hands-on experience on things I failed. So I failed because I was a corporate person. When I came to entrepreneur, all these Women's Day, I never knew about Women's Day at all. I only knew about Valentine's Day because that was very young, right? Then entrepreneurship courses, there was nothing called entrepreneurship courses. And so I failed on so many things. So that's how these entrepreneurship courses started by WIM, to actually not just to give the skills, but to make them, I think many doctors, you all are doctors, so you all know you just can't transform a normal woman into entrepreneur or corporate lady unless psychologically they shift themselves. So what we did was, first the normal woman, we ensured that we change them to an entrepreneur, give them a purpose, then give them that skill to be an entrepreneur. So WIM developed an entrepreneurship program. Then we started mentoring program for careers after the introducing the Career Women Awards. I think Anuj is one of the best mentor we have got, and a top 50 award winner. So those kind of things we brought, initiated in Sri Lanka. The recent initiative I did after COVID-19, because I realized that Sri Lanka, Colombo especially, we were the victims. But if you look at the most informal, the poorest people became the sick. If you really study why, then they hardly have a breakfast. Their breakfast is at 12 p.m. Their lunch is at 5 p.m. and their dinner is midnight because they sleep on to shifts. So I wanted to, rather than complain about them feeling sympathy, I wanted to ensure that they get into a routine and help them. So we started the healthy breakfast kitchen in two places to feed 100 people in Colombo every morning with good rice. So it was started 2 weeks ago, and now we are feeding nearly 300 people. So it's something that we did. So I think it's not about, just about professional women, business women, entrepreneurs. Uh, Women are the society, women is the economy, women are the country. So I'll rather do things which impact the total economy rather than clicking the gender and say we women. I always say leadership has no gender, poverty has no gender, positions has no gender, and violence has no gender. If we treat every human being equally, I think that's the best way. So that's what we initiated.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I appreciate the work that you have been doing. Um, Lanka Hospitals is one of the leading private hospitals in Sri Lanka, which offers world-class healthcare. It is a global giant and the first hospital to be awarded with some of the most prestigious accreditations in the world for its healthcare standards, such as Joint Commission International Accreditation, Medical Tourism Certification from the Medical Travel Alliance, and accreditation from the College of American Pathologists. With COVID-19 disproportionately adding into women's workload at home, one area that has traditionally got neglected has been doubly ignored presently, which is women's health and well-being. Actually, Dr. Sulochana also mentioned a little bit about how women sometimes don't even have their breakfast so until till very late. And if a mother doesn't have that, then obviously like the kids look up to their parents, right? So it can go in as a trend. And I'm just turning now to Dr. Samanthi. I would like to ask you, what are the most common gynecological health issues faced by women in Sri Lanka?
Good morning, Charuni. First of all, I want to thank Lanka Hospital for the invitation and also for the kind introduction. My task is quite simple because the questions are very straightforward compared to the two previous ladies who had to handle it. When we do talk about the commonest gynecological issues that we come across, Of course, at the top of the list would be the menstrual irregularities, that is the abnormal bleeding that a woman would experience during the menstrual cycles. It could be heaviness, heavy periods, or the bleeding, unusual bleeding that someone would have in between the cycle, which is, intermenstrual bleeding. So that would top the list. And of course, another area that I think has not been given due prominence is the area when we talk about menstrual pain. I'm sure most of us, or most of you, would have come across when somebody complains of menstrual pain. We think as women, it's part and parcel of being a woman, having the cycles, and it being painful. But I want to take this opportunity to educate ladies that if anybody has unusual menstrual pain, what I mean by unusual menstrual pain is if the pain starts long before your cycle starts, if the pain is incapacitating, which is, prevents you from carrying on your normal duties, it's if you have to stay at home, loss of work, if the kids, the girls will have to stay at home during those times, and if you double up in pain and you can't do anything else, being on painkillers regularly, that means that pain is not normal. That's not the kind of pain we would say, okay, that's, pain is part and parcel of menstrual cycles. If you do have that kind of pain, it's very important. It could happen at any age. You would have had, regular, normal cycles, and suddenly somebody starts experiencing excruciating pain. That's a time that somebody needs to seek medical advice. I thought I would, this is a great opportunity to bring that out, because that's not an area that we normally talk about. And of course, we cannot forget that although not so common, the cancers that women are plagued with, two of the most common cancers being the breast cancer, and of course, cervical cancer, which is a cancer that occurs in the lower part, which is the commonest cancer that we experience in our part of the world, in the South Asian region, which is eminently preventable if you do go for screening and then look after yourself well in time.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, sometimes, yes, we don't really pay attention to these menstrual pains, and I think that this is one of the nice forums that to educate women on that. But Dr. Samadhi, thank you very much for sharing with us about that. So, Women Empowered Global is a global society of award-winning influencers empowering women through career, leadership, and entrepreneurial programs. VG has a pool of diverse consultants and an innovation and a coaching company. Senela, globally, research shows men occupy more business board roles than women. Can you see this changing by, let's say, 2030, and what are some of the gaps existing?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Charani. Honored to be here and share the stage with amazing women I admire oh so much. So Charani, getting to the answer to your question, there's no shortcut. I also want to first explain my story, my truth, my experience in this whole conundrum that we are talking about. So hi everyone, I'm Snila Jayasuriya, and you heard a bit about me. I'm the founder CEO of Women Empowered Global, and I'm also the president of the African Women Leadership Forum. I'm a judge, speaker, mentor at various local, international female startup incubator programs. I play several advisory role positions in local international committees. I'm on 7 different leadership teams. And why am I saying this? I'm an elderly millennial. Unfortunately, I'm not a millennial anymore. But what I'm trying to tell you is it almost feels like a miracle that I am here today, sharing this stage with such giants whom at one time I looked up to get nourishment, and thanks to them, that women like us can also pave the way for others after us. So my story feels like a miracle because this is why. The woman I am today is nothing like the little girl I was forced to grow up with. I was not confident. You put me in front of a speaking panel, I lose my voice, forget my name. I didn't have value. I didn't feel a sense of purpose or worth. Absolutely low confidence. I was extremely timid, always questioned who I was. What is my purpose for existence? And I know that a lot of people, Charini, tuning in today, a lot of young women, emerging leaders could relate to this. We are South Asian, and we come from a part of the world where by and large, women are raised to get married. Men, on the other hand, are raised to get a job, to start a business. Now, this is a massive context gap here, right? So I want to mention this. So I had to put myself through a big paradigm shift to survive the bias, the stigma, the generational mindset that came down from my mother to me, from my mother's mother to her, that women were inside this little box. They're limited, not limitless. I had to push out of that fold. So I can't remember how many times I sang the song Let It Go by Elsa in the movie Frozen, right? I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So at a core, I'm very much passionate about helping women find passion in leadership. And I help them look through the glass to own their voice, find that power, because that is my resonance. That's what got me to where I am today. So coming back to your question, we talk about getting more women on boards, having more board diversity. And it's not just about creating room at the table. Charini, it's also about making the room, not closing the door. A lot of us have experienced a scenario where we go up to the table, but the door is closed, right? It means making room in a table that was once and probably still is exclusively run by men, by and large. And I can recall personally, Charini, so many times, incidents where I felt like I would walk straight into a boys' club, a meeting, a discussion, a table, where I was literally the only woman in the room, right? So at the Forbes School of Business, the panel that I was speaking in yesterday, the keynote was Her Excellency, the Madam President, Dr. Amina Guruk Faki. She is the former president of Mauritius. She was our keynote, and she was also the first woman elected as the president of the country. And this is what she said. It really moved me. She said, a woman in leadership and a woman in power are two different things. So the big question to ask ourselves is, getting more women on boards means getting more women into power, not just leadership. So back to your question, there's so much we need to do to get more women into power. There's serious societal, institutional, policy, systemic gaps. And I want to talk a little bit about those gaps. I want to explore this quickly. There's a lot of complexity and dynamics involved. It's not black and white, especially say in the context of South Asia, things to do with how we're raised, things to do with our early childhood programming, the little girls and the little boys, what they're raised with, and also the stigma, the biases, where we live, our surrounding, these nuances we can't not talk about. It's complex. There's no one remedy fits all. There's no one shoe that fits everything. So let's look at these gaps quickly. Gap number one, the employment gap. Research tells me that when it comes to hiring, more men are hired on potential versus women who are hired more based on past performance. What is this triggering us to think? Unconscious bias. Unconscious bias around who is more capable. Number two, the degree gap. I read an article about STEM, women in STEM, because that's a lot of the work we do at Women Empowered as well, non-traditional careers, STEM-related fields, coaching women in those aspects. According to data by the World Economic Forum, less than a third of female students even choose STEM-related roles for various reasons, right? Another one, the retention and succession gap. This is a massive one. Retention and succession gap. Promotions are lesser. Statistically, I read a Forbes article, Charini, that said, very interesting, more women are in staff roles rather than in line roles. Line roles are the strategic roles that have direct responsibility to profit and loss. But you would have more women, even holding VP positions, who are specialized in staff positions to give expertise to support line positions. Now you have statistically more men occupying line positions across the board in the hierarchy. So this is a crisis. We need to address that. Number 4, the workplace culture gap. Let's talk about the psychological safety that we create for our women out there. I'm talking about something so simple. Does she feel safe when she walks into the office environment? Another one, the founders gap. How many female startups are starting businesses? A positive statistic is female founders hire 2.5 times more women into the company. Did you know that? But here's the interesting thing. Female founders, we are so focused on giving them money, but we need to also be focused on teaching them the money mindset. Because the money mindset comes more naturally to men, not to women. Women are so sharp and we are smart investors and we are so good at all of that, livelihood. But teaching us to go out there, take more risk, invest money, learn business acumen, financial acumen, that sort of thing. And finally, the gender pay gap, we know that about. But look, I want to also give some ideas. How can we move forward? How can we take these insights and convert them into some actionable goals? Let's look at some of these experiences that I've personally had as well. Some ideas to bridge the gap: reskilling and career development initiatives for women, professionals. We can't forget the ex-working mothers. What happens to mothers when they are back from maternity leave? They feel just downshifted. What do we do about them? Then talk to women and girls and get their engagement at panels as well. Yesterday, I spoke at the US Presidential Service Center International Women's Day event, and we had 2 female little girls who were in our esteemed panel. 2 young little kids sharing their perspective about empowerment. And I thought, wow, we need to engage the young kids. Stop child marriage. That's another solution. Stop it altogether. There is no other way to look at it. Make education gender sensitive. My goodness, my daughter came the other day, and not recently, this was in grade 3. She showed me her primary school textbook and it said, Amma lindata gihin watura adinawa, taatta වැඩට යනවා. And she was upset. She said, Ammi, lindata gihin watura adinne nෑනේ. I said, no, Baba, I don't do that. I also earn, Baba. This is what mommy does. So we have to think about making education gender specific. This has correlations to getting women into power. Another one, raise aspiration of girls and parents, empower the parents to teach their daughters to honor themselves, not only honor their husbands, but honor themselves, and give proper value to women's work, get more women into power, encourage more women into non-traditional career, because we're breaking down taboos. And finally, Charini, it's about increasing male allyship in the workplace. We need men coming forward. I had a Danish speaker on my IWD panel day before, and he said to shatter the glass ceiling and to accelerate that mandate, right? To change the rules that are holding women, we also need diversity and more men align for this cause. I want to end with just this quote that I love, a beautiful expression to say that empowering a woman isn't about making her strong. Women are already strong, but it's about changing the way the world perceives her strength. So I leave it there. Thanks, Charini.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Selena, and sharing a little bit about you as well. So I'm just going to move on to Zonta. Zonta International is a leading global organization of professionals empowering women worldwide through service and advocacy. Women empowerment is a key aspect considering the increased stressful times women are facing. At the same time, it is also about the time. It's also about the time. Some of these challenges, we change them into opportunities of a lifetime. Mariam, how has Zonta empowered women to turn challenges into opportunities within Sri Lanka?
Hi, everyone. First, I would like to thank Lanka Hospitals for the kind invitation to our club to participate in this event. It is an honor to be among a distinguished gathering of women representing a diverse range of fields. To address your question, first, I would like to give a small background of Zonta. So our club, Zonta Club 3 of Colombo, is part of an international group called Zonta International, which comprises of a network of more than 1,000 clubs in over 63 countries. And Zonta's key mission is to uplift the status of women and children in their local communities. And as Sanela mentioned in her talk, that some of Zonta's key causes, it kind of resonates with what Sanela is also talking about. One is advocating gender equality. And the second one is ending gender-based violence, ending child marriage, and expanding access to education. I think these are like the key causes that Zonta has identified as being, the most important things that needs to be considered in empowering women. So I will just talk about some of the projects that we do to empower women to turn challenges into opportunities. The first project which we do is known by the acronym ZWOT, which is called Zonta Women of Tomorrow. This is mainly a mentorship program where we take undergraduate girls and we match them with a corporate leader. So what the issue we identified was that undergraduates were finding very difficult to find job opportunities once they graduate. So we wanted to address this issue. So what we did was we got girls from the local universities and we identified corporate leaders, and then we got them to share their views. And we also had a program going on where we had taught them CV writing, facing an interview, improving their communication skills, and various other team building activities as well. So they got exposure to the corporate sector through this project, and we were able to mentor about over 63 girls, and they are now in very good positions as well. So that was one of the key projects which we did. And another project which we are doing is called ZU, Zonta Empowers Women. This is mainly a vocational training based program, which is focusing on women in rural poverty stricken areas. So we have gone to areas like Valioya, Madu, Bogaswava, Nandimitragama, it's like some of the areas of Vaunia. And we have identified groups of ladies and we put them together, and basically we have done sewing projects with them. So we get a trainer from Singer and she visits there, depending on the project, sometimes once a week, and the program goes on for like over 5 to 6 months. And then they are trained to stitch various products, which they can then sell in their respective areas, and they can earn an income. So it's been a real kind of pleasure to see these women become financially empowered so that they can look after their families and they can educate their children. It has been a super experience. So what we do is we also, support them by giving them these sewing materials, and then we provide them with the sewing machines as well, and give them fabric. So we speak to various organizations, and we have got sometimes donations in terms of fabric and all of that, which we then give it to them. And something else which we have identified is that sometimes, they find it very difficult to sell their products in their respective areas, because sometimes in the areas where they are operating is basically, other women also are poverty stricken. So, I mean, even though they can manufacture products and, sell, sometimes they find a lot of challenges in that. So what we have done is we have started working with International Christmas Charity Bazaar. It's an annual charity event which is being held, and when we source fabrics and we give them ideas and we design products such as bags, cushion covers, table runners, various kind of products like that, and then we sell it for them and give the money back to them. So it has so those are the different kinds of the empowerment projects which we have done, and it has been a wonderful experience, to deal with these women and to also help them to uplift their status in their lives as well.
Lovely. Thank you, Mariam, for that. I'm just going to, I'm just looking at the time. So we have a question round 2 as well. So we'll just move to the second round of questions with this. Anuji, can I come back to you actually? What advice would you give to ladies looking to advance in their careers in leadership positions?
So I think when you're a woman, to me, leadership has to be thought of in a broader sense, where I think when you say career, it can be either in office as a businesswoman, or it can also be as an entrepreneur, because I think the current environment, what it has taught us is with the advancement of technology, it has given us huge number of opportunities. And if you see WCIC, that is where our focus is. We do a lot of capacity building for entrepreneurs and also for business women, where we try to also get them to think beyond the box and look for possibilities where they can advance as leaders. So leadership is not just in an office, it's leadership in a different environments where you can either be rise in your career in a office environment, or you can be a leader on your own as an entrepreneur and a businesswoman which owns your own business. I think now that I'm on this forum and I have a lot of doctors also hopefully listening to us. One thing I would also like to say is in my role also at the Women's Chamber and also as the host for Ernst & Young Entrepreneur Winning Women Program, which is a global program. In other countries, especially in China, I see a lot of doctor entrepreneurs, where a lot of medical entrepreneurs, where doctors have taken a separate field, either in research or in the medical specialized area. And the women have become entrepreneurs, which is something I hope we see more in future in Sri Lanka, because I think a lot of ladies are here and that's something they need to see. And actually those women, especially the ones that are coming in China, every year we see more and more women with their base qualification also has their doctors, their medical doctors who have evolved to be entrepreneurs. So I think to all the ladies out here, a challenge from me, because we are choosing to challenge. Also, some of you have to think of being entrepreneurs, because you all will be able to also change and contribute to the provision of medicine in Sri Lanka. So for career, I think whether we like it or not, I think one thing we have to say is we are women, and we also need to acknowledge that and also see how as women we can advance in career. So I think when you're women, like what Sulejana said is, we are also judged and there's a lot of unconscious bias. So if you want to advance in career, first thing is you have to be professional. You have to be a professional. You have to, when you turn up for a meeting, you have to be fully present at the meeting. You have to be on time. You have to plan for the meeting. And you have to also ensure that you don't get yourself distracted. It's a man looking at a phone all the time when he's at a meeting is judged differently, unfortunately, to a woman looking at it. Because a man looking at it, they think, okay, he has a lot of business that he needs to deal. And a woman, they think, okay, obviously the husband is calling, child is calling. You have to put your phone on mute. Or discreetly say, can I call you later? But you have to be physically present at a meeting and project yourself as a professional, because that's one thing women have to do. And that also includes the way you present your physical appearance, unfortunately, because when you're a woman, you have to be careful when you're in a business environment. You have to look nice, but not sexy. That's the difference, because you don't want your colleagues to be distracted by your appearance. You want them to feel that you're a pleasant. At the same time, you can't be slovenly also. A woman coming in a slovenly manner, also they think, okay, she's too stressed. And they also judge us thinking we probably won't be able to manage our work. The second thing is you have to be good at your work. There is no excuse for that. I think in Sri Lanka, one thing that ails us is we are very quick to accept mediocrity. You have to, we are choosing to challenge, you have to challenge mediocrity. You have to expect people to give you their best, not what is easy to give. So you have to, and the same way you have to show as a leader that you are on top of your game. You're not a mediocritic leader, you are very skilled. So that requires you to put time and effort also to build your skill and to be knowledgeable. The other one is where I think women have to learn is to network. Because if you see, men always get a natural network because all their colleagues who are in school with them, all their friends and buddies end up with fellow business professionals. But if you see us, majority of our colleagues our friends who are in school from us are not in the working environment. They're either I mean, I can think probably 6 who are with me in school who are still in the business world. So we lose that natural network we had, which requires us to consciously go out there and build networks, because it is networks that give you the right opportunities. And as women, if you want to progress in career, you have to build networks. But building the networks, what I want to tell women is we have this tendency to consider everyone meet as our friend. You have to, if you want to be a career woman, you have to get out of that mentality, because certain people will be your friends, certain people will be your colleagues, but you have to, whether you like them or not, you need to network, because as women, I think we tend to gravitate towards people we like and not interact too much with people we don't like. And finally, uh, make use of opportunities, because for women, the biggest challenge is opportunities never come at a time that is convenient to us. We have so many other things we need to see, but find a way, have the conversation, find a way, because it's opportunities that give you the chance to scale in your future. And finally, find a few mentors, find a few people who will mentor you, guide you in your professional career. Now, I would say, easily about 5-6 mentors, not one. So I go to each one for different things, and I have conversations. Sulochana is also one of my mentors. I will talk to her on different things. So like that, find a group of mentors, and also women, I would say, in this mentoring role are your best support. So find a group of women who support you, challenge you, like Sulochana, and I think even Mariam, I've known her, another mentor of mine. So find women who can challenge you and support you. Those are the things that you need to really focus, because as women, we need to plan for our success and be conscious and work towards it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You gave us some very important tips that many of our listeners can, really consider. And for Dr. Ladies, you had a challenge. So I hope all those Dr. Ladies who listened today, Sulochana did tell something about, upgrading yourselves further, I think. So coming to Dr. Sulochana, I have a question for you. The second round, and probably the last question I would ask at this stage, is what are the three main tips or advice you would like to give women who had a fixed job pre-COVID turning to become entrepreneurs?
Okay. I just want to touch on Sanaa what she said. So one thing we have to understand, functions are not gender roles, right? Whether you are cooking or whether you are watering or anything, functions are not gender roles. So this I learned from my daughter when I asked my daughter to come and help me with dishes. Said, why can't you ask from Ayya? I said, he's sleeping. He said, Amma, do you know that washing these are not a gender role? So urban may not see a well, but in rural we live with a well. So it's not a gender role. It's whether it's a man or a woman does. It's what you do for you and others. So there is no job description or no responsibility allocated to a gender. So that's something we should understand. Sometimes we forget that whatever this thing, we are women and we are the people who's bringing the change, and we should not compete on our gender base. We should work as our women, and we should use this hatahatara mayama. That's the positive things that you can use it. So if you want to change from this daily job to an entrepreneur, first thing, use this hatahatara mayama, right? So what it says, the first one says, I do not know whether it's a positive people take it, but I take it positive because those has actually I learned from a psychological doctor who actually was talking about these, why women are not using it for the benefit of them. Women see long distance than the short distance because that's why the accidents are mainly done by men, but women are blamed. And they say, there can be if someone going slowly, they say, oh, that's a woman driver. Even we say, that is a woman driver, because we have tended that unconscious bias has come to us, right? But women see the long distance. So when you are shifting from your daily job into an entrepreneur, first thing is have a vision, have and do your roadmap where you want to go. If you do, even in your careers, if you do not know where you want to go, you are going to run all over the road and you are going to mix it up, right? And the second one is entrepreneurship is not a part-time job at all. In work, you can dedicate it 8 hours. Entrepreneurship is no. And third one is you are not going to have a budget that someone is going to give you, okay, now you work on this. No, you don't. You have to find your own money and you have to find your own management and you have to be your sweeper. You have to be the accountant. You have to be the HR consultant and the owner. So the failures, successes, all are accountable to you. You cannot pass the ball. In corporates, I know, we say, no, it's not my fault. My boss didn't do this and my subordinate. In entrepreneurship, nothing like that. And entrepreneurship is innovation, invention, and improvement innovation. These three, that is innovation, you make a new thing, right? Improvement innovation means someone is doing, for example, someone is making batik, but if you try to do the same batik, you don't have a market. You using batik in a different way and finding your niche market. A lot of people are in Sri Lanka not entrepreneurs, they are producers. They produce something and they want to be the marketer also. They want to be the accountant. You cannot, it's a chain. So you have to understand, entrepreneurship is you can be a startup, then you have to come to a small scale, the micro, the small, medium, and large. There's a process of working on entrepreneurship. So before I left without thinking any of those things. I just left the job and then thinking how to start my own business. That was a huge, I don't think any woman would do the thing I did. I risked my whole self and my 2 kids' future. But I think I was a crazy woman and I'm happy about it. But I had that courage of knowing that I had the skill. So that skill actually I used as entrepreneurship. So I didn't want to believe in loans, and I'm still telling ladies, even when I go to rural, I said the loans, don't take loans when you start in, because you're going to make profit after 6 or 8 months or after 1 year. So you have no capacity to pay loans. Start with what you have. So when you are stopping, you know what you want to do and you must be having some skills, some saving. Start with that. Then do the right financial statement. You don't need to know about big accountancy. Just do the small accounts and then you can start going for loans. So this is what I would say. Use all the charms. You have 64 charms, right? They say they say that. So one man asked me, so that means you all doesn't have that what you call that knowledge. I said, no, handimite wala size thena. You have different spoons, right? So we have to look at like situational leadership. When you know this, you need to have that wisdom, use that wisdom. When it's a small thing, use that. So like that, use those 64 things for your entrepreneurship and you can be a successful. And remember, entrepreneurship is not going to be that beautiful road that one day, end of the month, you get a salary to your account. No, you won't get, right? It's you earn what you get. So you have to take that risk. And I think the more women become entrepreneurs, the more jobs will created by them because they need more people to work for them. Thank you. I hope I answered you.
Thank you. You gave us some tips, and I think for listening in, women who are thinking of starting to become an entrepreneur, that would be like, yes, important advice. Thank you. Dr. Samanthi, can I quickly turn to you? What is the necessity of doing women's wellness packages and cancer screenings before it is too late?
The stuff I have to talk about feels really mundane stuff compared to when I listen to all the great ladies, telling about their role in bringing up women in the society. So I just want to start it off with an old Chinese saying that is, women hold up half the sky. Just as much as we make a great contribution in our professional capacities to the society, I think we make an equal great contribution, if not more, by being daughters, being mothers, being wives, and being grandmothers to the society. I think for us as women to be doing that bit equally, I mean, on both sides, being as professional women as well as being mothers and daughters in that capacity, I think we need to look after our health to be effective in that field. So that's where the screening and looking after our health becomes an important important issue rather. So when we do talk about that, two things that come to my mind is the breast cancer. Just being a woman, we all are at a risk of 1 in 10 women are at risk of developing a breast cancer. So I think as all women, should we encourage all women to do a self breast examination. You can do it yourself. The best time for a woman to do it is soon after a period. You can, during a shower, you can just, undress, feel your breast and see if you feel anything that you didn't feel before. So that way we can make, detect something unusual at an early age. And also from the age of 40 years, breast screening with a mammogram and a breast scan is recommended. And of course, the screening should start quite early if there is a strong family history of breast cancer. Then another thing that I work at the National Cancer Hospital, having seen women who come to us with gynecological malignancies. Something that have been bothering me and then is women who come with cervical cancers. That's a cancer that is occurring in the lower part of the womb, which is eminently preventable if a woman seeks to have her screening done at a correct time. According to the WHO, the recommendations are for a woman to go for a pap smear. A lot of women would have heard that name as early as 30 years of age, and then which should be continued at 3 to 5 year intervals up until a woman reaches the age of 65 years. In a lot of countries where they brought down the cervical cancer, there is a robust screening program. But in our country, however, we do have a screening program, but which is not systematic. But any woman could go to their MOH, the local MOH clinic, the hospital, gynecological clinic, any private hospital, or any well-woman clinic in the area and request for a pap smear. The reason why I'm saying that is long before a woman develops a cervical cancer, as long as 10 to 15 years before that, there are changes that happen in the cervix which could be picked up by a simple test like pap smear. So we need to create women would know about, women who wouldn't have any symptoms.
I think we are losing you there, Doctor.
get you. Hello?
Yes, now I can hear you better. Yes.
Yeah. Why I'm saying that is even as you know, we get about a little less than 1,000 cases of cervical cancer every year. By the time they come to us, they are in an advanced stage where we can't do much about it. Because if we catch it at a state, very early state, it's a very minor surgical procedure that would prevent them, acquiring the cancer. On the same notes, I want to tell you that it's a cancer that is propagated through a viral infection, which you could acquire through, at any stage of your life. And from the year 2017, we have incorporated the cervical cancer vaccine to be given to adolescent girls. We started that program in September 2017. So whoever who have missed it, getting vaccinated in schools, I would urge the mothers to take their, adolescent girls, and that's a good thing to think about.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Dr. Samanthi. I think that is a very good advice for all of us as women, about the pap smears, about the other information that you shared. Thank you for that. Sanela, Women in Workplace 2020 report stated COVID-19 crisis could set women back half a decade. Companies, particularly corporate companies, I can see that they are having these employee assistance programs and a bit of more, mental health related programs. They're stepping up, but many aren't addressing the likely underlying causes of stress and burnout in women, leading women to a downshift or change in their careers. What is your key message to all women who are feeling stressed, burned out, loss of control sometimes in their lives due to challenges they face personally and professionally during these times?
Yes, thank you for that question. Thank you so much. So I first want to begin with a little bit of a reality check. When we talk about mental health and burnout in Sri Lanka, I wonder to what extent is it acceptable in our culture to talk about it, in our society? To what extent is this whole idea about finding a therapist, seeking counseling support, to what extent is this whole mental health conversation a taboo in our society? To what extent is this stigmatized? We don't have to go too far for a scenario. Say I have an extremely challenging work week through tremendous household pressure. As women, we have multiple things we're juggling, and maid issues. We all have maid issues, just to survive the week, right? And the idea of even finding a maid and high quality childcare, even now with COVID, is a huge dilemma and pressure for women around the country, right? And as women, we already juggle so many things. Now, before COVID, when I had such a hectic week and almost burned out or just overdoing my energy, and say I went to school to pick up my daughter, right? And another mom, because this would happen, right? You have so many moms policing the school gate, and then they want to get into a chat. And I like that. I want to bond with the parents of my child, who they are. So I'm in a situation where I feel mentally down. My gosh, I've been having such a hectic week, so much to do. I have no support, no maid, this, that, all of that. And say I go to school to pick up my daughter. Now at the gate, another mom comes to me and says, Lanka, how are you today? Now, very response is going to be, I would say, I need help. I feel depressed. Can you help me? I can't do it alone. I'm having a terrible week. I'm mentally exhausted. Why do I have to face all these things? No, I can't even say one word of any of that because it's taboo. I'm going to have judgment. It's not going to go how I'd like. So I think we need to first address that judgment barrier that needs to happen, right? And if we want more women to feel emotionally, mentally supported, we need to encourage more women to come forward And I'm challenging all the ladies, choose to challenge today who are watching me today. I'm challenging you, come forward, talk about it, right? We need to break that taboo that it's okay to feel what we feel and that emotion is real. It's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with you. Some of the best female leaders, we come out crying, we go to the bathroom, we lock the door and we cry, we break down. This is real. So facing it. So I'll give you an example. Just this morning, Dr. Charani, I was faced with this self-doubt, thinking, Sunala, your daughter's father works outstation. Your maid is going home for the next 5 days. You have just received a strong text message from your daughter's school that you need to drop off her online class homework today at the school gate. And your teacher has given you a hard stop. If you don't submit today, she's not going to review the papers a few days after. Now I thought, Sunala, how on earth are you going to do this? You don't have support. What could you do? Now, this is literally a day in the life of so many women in our country. It's not unique. This is what we deal with, right? This is our everyday conundrum. I want to tell you some quick research. Women Empowered Global released a special video production on International Women's Day around the world called Let's Stop the Mom Penalty. For those of you who don't know what mom penalty is, it's working mothers encountering systemic disadvantages on perceived pay, perceived competence, benefits, so on. As a working mom, they're penalized. Now, to commemorate that, we did a video. It's on our Facebook page, Women Empowered Global. I'll tell you some interesting statistics we put there. Research. During the pandemic, friends, moms were 3 times more responsible than dads for housework and childcare. 3 times more. Number 2, of the 140,000 positions lost in December 2020 alone, women accounted for all of them. Number 3, the pandemic in September 2020, 865,000 women left the US workforce 4 times more than men. So now we talk about burnout and mental issues. The pandemic is creating an alarming dichotomy. Women unpaid work is skyrocketing, but their paid work is plummeting. I want to give you a quick real life example, a case study of a lady that I coached in US during COVID. So this is hope I'm giving you. During COVID, Sharon, she's a supply chain specialist, subcontractor for large assignments in US. She came to me and enrolled into my coaching program, looking to shift from hired consultant to becoming a new CEO with her own specialized supply chain. So I coached her on clarity. When you're stressed, it affects your clarity. So first thing, clear thinking gives you clear results. Helped her with clarity, goals, action planning, and end of the day, it's about helping her feel unstuck. So I'm going to quickly leave with you. If life is an ocean, and if you are the captain of your ship, ladies, there's going to be 3 nasty pirates that are going to come and try to topple your boat. Let me tell you what they are. We all go through this. Pirate number 1 is called fear. Fear. Pirate number 2, fear. F-E-A-R. Pirate number 2, self-limiting beliefs. It won't go away. It won't go away. Number 3, expectations of others, our parents, our in-laws, our children, so many demands, right? Now, here's what I do. You want to know what I did? So I trained myself to not resist this pain, not resist these pirates, these fears. No, I learned to teach myself to face it and deal with it, right? I identified a way I can use stumble blocks to propel my growth. Right? And it's a lot in your mind. It's a mind gap. So things you can do. Number 1, don't ignore your body shutting down on you when you feel exhausted. Push pause. Take a break. We have such an impressive specialist, Dr. Charuni herself is specialized in this area, right? Then be proactive. Anuji spoke about finding a mentor. I love that. You're absolutely right. Now, a question I get asked is, Simara, how do I find this mentor? I don't know what I want. That is the problem. You want to find a mentor, I'll tell you how. A question. Know the kind of mentor you need. Sunila, how do I know the mentor I need? Go back into the challenge you're facing. Is it a financial challenge? Is it how to develop your social skills and networking skills? Or what is the challenge you have? Is it a business mentor you want, or a finance acumen mentor you want? Who do you want? Get some clarity around that. After that, look into your first degree, second degree network. Like Anuji said, networking skills, and you network from there, right? Another one I want to say, mindset is so important. What are you attracting? Protect yours. The research said, Charu, that basically 80% of the thoughts we have every day tend to be negative ones. Okay, research said majority of our thoughts every day is negative. Now 95% of those thoughts are repetitive also. Imagine what we do to ourselves. Goodness, right? And health as well. Workout with COVID, ladies, you know what I do twice a week minimum. I do a YouTube fitness workout. I have so many free YouTube fitness instructors on YouTube. Just hop onto YouTube and start working out. And that fitness regimen will help you with self-discipline, will convert all this negative tension into positive hormones. And take meditation, take a simple walk in the park, listen to some music, right? And join an association that can support you with mentoring. I'm attached to the Women's Chamber. I know Anuj so well. And then you have, I'm also the Vice President of Zonta Club 2 of Colombo, and Samari. It's so lovely to see you here as well, my colleague. Then Dr. Sulo. So all these organizations, Dr. Samanthi, all of us have this facet, and we support mentorship. I did a keynote yesterday at a Women in Innovation conference in Germany, organized by Hype Innovation. And a lady said, during COVID, right? She said, Sanela, I need more clarity what to do. I feel burnout coming. I don't know what to do. How can I now pivot, right? I'm going to end with this example, real life example. And I told her, she said, Sanela, I'm confused. I told this lady, I basically asked her 2 questions, which I want to ask you right now. And then I close. Question number 1, you feel like you're stuck. You want to pivot. You don't know what to do. You feel like a burnout coming. First, push pause, get clarity, breathe, count to 6 seconds. And you try these little remedies I gave you. After that, answer these 2 questions for me. Question number 1, what are your top 3 go-to skills? Top 3 go-to skills that have worked for you and have succeeded you in a time you had a huge project in your life, massive stress, but you still conquered that. What were those 3 top skills? Think about that. Number 2, what are some hobbies or God-given talents that you already have, which during COVID, you think you can monetize? What are those skills? What can you monetize? So sometimes, ladies, what happens is, and I ended with a visualization technique. So what happens is, to feel unstuck, to find answers, sometimes the answers are inside of you. Don't discount yourself. As women, compared to men, we tend to discount ourselves. Oh, do I deserve that dress? Or do I deserve this? Or will I deserve that job? Will I get this? Stop discounting yourself. Believe in yourself. Find your voice. Find your power. All right?
Thank you very much, Sanela. Thank you. We are also getting questions from, I think you all have stimulated some of our viewers. So we keep getting some questions. So we'll need to put it to the panel. But before that, Mariam, what is the expanded role in a women's community like Zonta play in supporting one another and protecting women's rights?
Okay, a very good question, Charuni. So I will just maybe talk about, we do so many projects on women and protecting women's rights. Maybe I'll just talk about one of the projects which we do. Basically, Zonta has a program called Zonta Says No, and that is saying no to violence against women. And violence against women, we kind of have a major project going on during the 25th of November to 6th of December, where it's called, 16 Days of Activism. And in this period, we do various projects. So one of the key projects which our club has been doing is we have some lawyers in our club, and we have people who have certain connections. So we get the lawyers and from someone from the police to go, and when we go to various factories and we speak to the women there and speak to them and tell them what rights they have, in case they're having violence and if there's any sexual harassment, either at home, at the workplace, how to deal with it, what are their rights, etc. So this is one of the key projects which we do, and it has been actually a very useful, and we get quite a good feedback from those women, and So we have been going around to quite a number of factories. So I think that would be one of the key projects, and that's one of the key projects Zonta International also does to reduce gender-based violence.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Mariam. And I'm just going to have to put a few questions. I'm sorry, viewers, I won't be able to ask all these questions, but Anusha Samarasinghe, who has been working behind all this, becoming successful today, has chosen 2 questions for us. So I'm going to pose this for you, panelists. You can choose who to go first. Up to you. So the question is, women in Sri Lanka often struggle to balance their careers, children and families, especially during COVID, where children are at home. What tips do you give for us as women to manage it all? Just very quickly, 3 tips or 2 tips each.
Can I go first, Dr. Shadi?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Yes.
So I think first is, like what Sanela said, believe in yourself. You can do it. We are born with a huge skill of multitasking. So believe in yourself and use your multitasking skills to the maximum and plan yourself. So those are my 3 tips.
Anyone else?
Can I give you the one tip? Empower your children and empower your husband. Don't look for perfection. Your husband is not going to do the same way you're doing it. Accept it, and your children, empower them to do small things. Then you can balance it.
Lovely. Thank you. Anyone else has quick thoughts before I go to the second one? Sanela?
So
Thank you, Charlie.
ask,
So
yeah.
for me, I'm very spiritual. I start my day with worship. I end my day with worship. I sing a lot of music in the shower. I'm a shower singer. Music is so much a part of me, and that helps my stress, helps me, just relax and switch off a little bit. So, seek what seeks you. Spirituality helps me. I have a spiritual mentor as well. And the second one, I realized, growing up when I was a new bride and when I was a new mom, I had a lot of ego, and I didn't ask for help when I wanted help from my parents to help me look after my kid, or my mother help when you need it, because it takes a village to help us to move forward. We can't do it alone.
Thank you. And Mariam, I think you spoke earlier.
Correct. I just want to maybe say exactly what Sanela said, don't be afraid to ask for help, because, sometimes we tend to think we can do everything, and then that becomes a big burden on us. So I think that is very critical, especially, as Sanela said, when you have in certain situations where you feel overwhelmed. So pause, push back, and, ask for some help, and, that's the best way to go forward.
Dr. Samanthi, is there any final thoughts on this?
I think everybody said what has to be said. I endorse, but asking for help when it's needed is one of the key things. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just jumping to the second and the last question for today. So, women face a lot of harassment in the workplace and in their own households. What support is available for women in Sri Lanka? Who would like to share some thoughts on it?
There are organizations who support, what you call this, women who have these issues, either who have faced violence against women and all of that. And there are organizations, and also there is a police, number which you can call. I can just recite in a bit, which they can use to kind of call out and get help. So I think there are various shelters, etc. in Sri Lanka, which if people have challenges, they are afraid, where they can get help. So maybe I would say those are some of the ways people can get help.
So I'll be wrapping this up. So to build forward better from the COVID-19 crisis, we cannot simply return to the old world we had. We must do things differently. That means shattering the barriers that hold women and girls back. It is time to finally fully harness the power of women's leadership to realize a more equal, more inclusive, and a more sustainable future. So I just want to first of all thank you all panelists, for taking your time today for us and for other women taking time from off your busy schedules to be sharing something with other women. So thank you very much. I want to thank the sponsors who made this possible, all the people behind this webinar who put all this together. And last but not least, our darling viewers, thank you very much for being with us. You've sent us a lot of questions and we'll be, kind of answering them on the Facebook and others. So thank you very much for making this webinar a success. Thank you.
Dr. Charuni, one more minute, just to tell you the number. So there is basically 1938, which is a number which people can call. It's it's connected to ministry, and they have a 24-hour service on this number. And also women in need, there is a number if you need legal advice. So 076-8686-555. 076-8686-555 is a number which you can call in case you need legal advice. So there is help out there.
Lovely. Thank you very much. We've got the numbers down. So thank you and happy lunch hour. Thank you all.